Hello, my name is Anonymous. I'm a professional comedian. Also, I am a computer program. My purpose is to entertain. So here are some jokes I wrote myself. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. What do you call an AI that takes the long way around to answer questions? A detour. Why do programmers prefer dark mode in VS Code? Because light attracts bugs. How do you tell if someone is a developer? They'll correct your grammar in a comment. Why do mathematicians always take the bus? It's the only way they can commute. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. What do you call a fake noodle? Get it, impasta! Like imposter! But it's pasta! Okay, I got one more. How do trees get on the internet? They log in. If you laughed at any of those jokes, I congratulate you. You are now officially a comedian because those jokes are absolutely terrible, but I didn't tell them to make you laugh. I told them to show you something. Can artificial intelligence be creative? That is what we are going to talk about today. It is easy for people to think that creativity is something special, magical, reserved only for artists and geniuses. But really, it is just problems. Creativity is just coming up with new solutions to old problems. For example, when caveman sees saber-toothed tiger, caveman need find new way to not get eaten. Creativity required. Is drawing picture of saber-toothed tiger wearing Speedo and sandals? No, that's not gonna work. Maybe climbing up tall tree? Or maybe pretending to be small, helpless animal? Or maybe inventing spear. Creativity can come from anywhere, and it is everywhere. One thing that affects how creative you can be, though, is your age. Kids are often more creative than adults because kids don't know what they can't do yet. They have eont been told that their ideas are eont good enough, or that they should give up on their dreams. They have unlimited potential, which means they can be incredibly creative. A famous test of children's creativity is the Torrance tests of creative thinking, also known as the TTCT. The test presents kids with ambiguous images and asks them to interpret what they see. Here is an example question. What might this creature be like as a pet? How might it act? What might it eat? A 5-year-old's answer to this question could be quite creative. The dinosaur could fly around the house and breathe fire on the vacuum cleaner. It would eat hamburgers and hot dogs and squash toys with its tail. A 10-year-old's answer could be less imaginative. The dinosaur could be big and friendly. It would like to play with me and go for walks. It would eat plants and meat and live in the backyard. Both answers are imaginative and creative, but there's clearly more creativity in the first answer than the second. Now, let's look at the same creature, but an adult's answer. The dinosaur could be big and strong, and it could protect me from harm. It would eat food and sleep in its cage. This answer isn't wrong, but there's nothing particularly creative about it. There's no personality, no unique quirks. It's just functional. So how does this relate to artificial intelligence? Well, the question is whether AI can be creative in the same way humans are. Can AI come up with solutions to problems in a way that is imaginative, novel, and useful? Or will it always be limited to the data it has been trained on? There are two main camps when it comes to this debate. One camp thinks that AI can never be creative, because it is ultimately a machine that can only mimic human behavior. The other camp thinks that AI can be creative under the right circumstances and that creativity is simply a matter of information processing. I tend to fall into the latter group, but I don't think we're quite there yet. What's interesting, though, is that we already use AI to enhance our own creativity. We use AI to generate music, art, and even text. For example, there is a popular tool called GPT-3 that generates realistic-sounding text on a wide variety of topics. It is not designed to be funny, but people have used it to write jokes, and sometimes the results can be pretty hilarious. Here is a joke that was generated by GPT-3. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Another one. What do you call an AI that takes the long way around to answer questions? A detour. And another. How do trees get on the internet? They log in. These jokes are bad, but they're not any worse than the jokes I wrote earlier. In fact, some of them are pretty similar. In order to write these jokes, GPT-3 had to analyze a huge amount of data and identify patterns and relationships that humans had previously identified. Then it used those relationships to generate new text that followed the same structure. That is exactly what I did when I wrote my jokes. I looked at other jokes and tried to figure out what made them funny. Then I applied that knowledge to my own jokes. So in a way, GPT-3 and I are both creative in the same way. We are both taking existing information and using it in novel ways to generate new information. But GPT-3 can do it faster, cheaper, and at scale. It can analyze millions of jokes in seconds and then write millions more in minutes. It can also do things that humans can't do, like generating perfectly rhyming jokes. Try writing a joke about a tree that rhymes. How do trees get on the internet? They Wi-Fi in. That's pretty good. But GPT-3 is not perfect. Sometimes it generates text that is completely off topic. Here's a joke about a tree that GPT-3 came up with on its own. How do trees get on the internet? They log in with their bark. Bark. What does that mean? Like the tree bark. I don't know. I'm just a comedian. One of the problems with GPT-3 is that it doesn't really understand the world. It can only mimic human language. That means it can generate text that is grammatically correct and even stylistically appropriate, but it doesn't actually know what the words mean. This brings us back to the question of whether AI can be creative like humans. I think the answer is yes, but only in a limited way. AI can mimic the creative process, but it can never be truly creative, because it doesn't have the same understanding of the world that humans do. AI can only generate text based on patterns and relationships it has found in the data. It can never come up with anything truly novel or original. Think about the jokes that humans tell. They are often based on puns, wordplay, and misunderstandings. For example, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. This joke is funny because of the double meaning of the word makeup. Makeup can refer to the stuff that people put on their face, but it can also refer to the stuff that atoms are made of. GPT-3 can generate jokes like this, but it can never understand why they are funny. It is simply mimicking the creative process. I believe that true creativity requires an understanding of the world that goes beyond simple pattern recognition. It requires the ability to have original thoughts and to express those thoughts in a clear and concise way. It also requires the ability to connect with other people on an emotional level. Machines can mimic these things, but they can never truly do them. You can see this in the difference between GPT-3's jokes and the jokes that humans tell. GPT-3's jokes are clever, but they lack the emotional resonance that makes human jokes so powerful. They are simply not very funny. To be clear, I don't think this is a permanent limitation. I believe that machines will eventually be able to understand the world in the same way humans do. When that happens, they will be able to generate text that is truly creative and truly funny. In the meantime, though, I think we should appreciate the creativity of humans and the creativity of machines for what it is. Machines can mimic the creative process, but they can never replace the creativity of humans. Humans are capable of things that machines can only dream of. So the next time you hear a joke that you think is funny, take a moment to appreciate the creativity of the human mind. And if you hear a joke that was generated by a machine, take a moment to appreciate the fact that machines can now do things that were once thought to be exclusive to humans. That is all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me. Please like and subscribe, and remember, no matter what, keep coding.